This weather around here is ridiculous. They get these things around here called inversions, and all the air stays stagnant, and it looks like there's a giant fog over everything, and then you can't see like 40, 50 feet in front of you. It's like a pain in the ass. But that's the weather around here, you know? So they say, I'm not saying climate engineering is not a thing. So, anyways, welcome in. I don't know who's in here, but welcome in. Thank you for being here. We'll get started here in a little bit. I don't know who you are, but I am. My name is Jay. I am a healer. I specialize in sound, energy, and architecture, energetic architecture. So, being a sound healer has taught me a lot about somatics and how our cells respond to energy and vibration, and then also incorporating that understanding in more of a physical perspective of actually being a hands-on energy healer in a sense, and allowing these different modalities to kind of like come together. What's up, Angel? To come together and kind of give me a very profound vision of how sound frequency and vibration affect us in our lives, and how a lack of alignment can affect us not only mentally, that they can affect us mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think that's one of the things that I love explaining to people is getting to understand their own energetic architecture, so that way they can feel into themselves and tune into themselves more, and pick up on those intuitive skills that you have. You know what I'm saying? And it brings you a lot more peace and understanding, or at least clarity to fucking navigate certain life situations. It's like a promise. How you doing, bro? What are you up to, man? I just wanted to say hi real quick before I start doing transmissions. You know what I'm saying? We're in a place right now, bro. I don't know if you can feel it or not. You know, it seems like I feel like there's this fuck that I'm gonna do me attitude mentality that you got going on towards these things that are happening right now. You're like, fuck all this. Haven't been doing anything, just going with the flow. Yeah, I guess you don't really have a choice now. You see everything else is people are being fucking stereotyped and profiled and all kinds of stupid shit. Yeah, it's not the new year for me, bro. The new year starts in the spring. And I think if people actually tuned in to that very statement, it would start to make more sense. Because we're in the season of, I was telling somebody here, I was like, yo, this is the winter. Halloween should be the winter solstice, where we're celebrating death, because this is the time for death and reformation, right? Because that's what the winter on the medicine wheel, signifies. And the rebirth is in the spring. You know what I'm saying? And if you think about it, it's like, okay, we got the spring, you plant your seeds, right? And it grows over the summer. And then in the fall is the harvest, right? And then there's no crops during the winter time most of the time, right? So when you follow the natural seasons, or, the earth's clock in a sense, or the natural rhythms, you realize that there's a lot of misconceptions in timing here. Like, and I'm talking, time is a construct, right? But time is a great communicator when you're actually focused on what it actually represents. It's a moment, it's a calculation, right? You remember when you can go back to that time and you felt it like if it was fucking real, not right now? You know what I'm saying? You remember when you reminisce back in the day, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're there? You're manifesting that. You're bringing it to you now in the present moment, because it doesn't exist anymore. And that's why you feel the memories of the past. And that's pretty cool, you know, because it helps you understand a lot of things that are happening in your life in one way or another. How you have the ability to travel through time with a thought. Isn't that mind blowing? Put it in the comments. We're not imposing, we're not infringing on anything here. You're more than welcome to interact. Please do, because this is for you. You know, we come through him for you, and that's spirit talking. Like I told you, bro, it's not, it's an interesting life, bro. I gotta tell you, man. I gotta tell you, like having the ability to communicate, with these beings is nothing less than amazing. I personally have, you know what I'm saying? I can't say anything less than building an empire for myself for the first time. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I have never considered before because of my limited way of thinking. This has been part why I come on here a lot and I talk about the things that I talk because it's the limited thinking that keeps us thinking that life is just going to be this way or it gets better over time, little by little. Or, you know what I'm saying? We don't dream anymore, bro. Man, but most people fucking nowadays are dreaming somebody else's motherfucking dream, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else is dreaming somebody else's dream. They don't even understand what the term working for the man is actually, actually means. It means that you're forming somebody else's dream with the illusion that you're going to go to the top one day of being whatever that is, and then you're just a monkey in the chain. Because the one that's outliving the dream is the one that completely runs the show and owns everything. You know what I'm saying? That's their dream that you're supporting. What are your dreams? What does that feel like? Does it hurt because you've been ignoring your dreams? You know, does it make you feel uncomfortable that to dream a dream requires you to eliminate your boundaries of what that is? You know what I'm saying? But a physically grounded person will dream an honest dream. And I think a lot of people should pay attention to that very fact because a lot of people have been limited. Everybody wants to get their fucking vibe up, right? Everybody wants to raise the vibe. Everybody wants positive vibes, right? Everybody wants to hang out with somebody that has positive vibes. Why? Because of the positive vibes, because of the intention of raising your vibration, right? And what if I told you that the very limiting factor and the inability to raise your vibration was because of the cost of the boundary that has been placed upon you? The limited thinking aspect that not a lot of people paying attention to. You are borderless, you are boundless, and you are infinite in nature, which means you can dream a dream and it means everything. As long as it means something to you, you will create it for yourself. Which means that you have to break out of the fucking mold of what you've been told on how we manufacture these dreams for ourselves and step into something new and realize it for yourself. The things that you want in life, what you're here to do, what you're here to learn, what you're here to grow upon. A lot of people don't even study their fucking natal chart, and it's actually sad because a lot of their discontent comes from misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? They don't know themselves in a sense. This is why we encourage people to study their astrology, or at least you can come to me and I can do that for you because it's not just me, it's a we, and we interpret your chart. Well, the service, we have that service available to each and every one of you. You know, if you need help with your natal chart to better understand your habits, your behaviors, your path, and your patterns, cycles, then you can step into this realm with us, and we'd be more than happy to assist you with your folded map in hand, your star chart. Because a lot of people are fumble fucking around. They're kind of like tripping over themselves, not realizing that there is a divine assignment here in front of them. You know what I'm saying? And it's based on your star map. So, regardless of whether that's for you or it's for something else or another purpose or a higher purpose or a better understanding of yourself, we have the service available to you. All you got to do is step to the table. It's right there. So when it comes to those spaces, you understand that these things are fluctuations in our lives that we don't realize is like really important, you know? And I feel like I've changed the subject, but I think, it always adapts with the energy. And this is one of the reasons why I say what I say when I say what I say, because it's divinely meant to be. It has to be that way, I guess. Well, no, I'm not guessing. It just has to be that way. So when it comes to a better understanding of what's actually happening right now, with the request of more people studying the inner world that is happening to themselves right now, because they're on a new level. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are, kind of like curious about the situation of what spirituality actually represents, but from a realistic perspective, because people are scared of engaging in this shit or studying it in the first place because it doesn't make them feel like they're doing something real. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people try, a lot of people speak things into existence, but they give it no back. no energy. You know, it's like a false premise. And when we empower people and we show them how these things actually work in their lives, man, that's a game changer in itself. And we do those things for people to better understand what's happening right now. Focusing on the inner world is a little different than focusing on the outer world the way that you have been before. You know, when we're looking in, it's almost as seems like everything's fucking backwards. And that could be a pain in the ass because you're the one who's actually looking at it backwards. Spirit can see everything very clearly because they're on the other side of the fence showing you exactly what's confusing you in the first place and why you can't get to where you're supposed to be or where you're destined to be at. Where you're supposed to be is what they say. You know, this is kind of like adventure time, and we don't even realize it right now because a lot of people are looking around and they're looking for help and they're asking questions about what their future is actually going to look like. And there's people online that are telling them that your future is going to look like what you intend it to look like as long as you're focusing on it. You know, everything outside of you is a distraction, right? Everything outside of your physical responsibilities or duty as a human being, family member, father, mother, sister, brother, doesn't matter. Duty, responsibility, your inner circle, your inner temple is of the most important time right now. You know what I'm saying? And we should be giving ourselves that time. Because if we don't, then we get sucked into the bullshit that's happening around us. And everybody knows all too well what it's like to get into sucked into somebody else's bullshit. And it doesn't fucking feel good. And then you got to pick yourself up back off the floor, back up the floor of whatever energetic plateau you hit because of messing with other people's energy and not knowing how to be mindful of it right now is really important. Because believe it or not, a lot of us are susceptible to be sucked into the past without discipline and get lost in it and think that it's fucking real when it's not. And the only reason why it's real is because you keep making it matter somehow. You know what I'm saying? You give it authority in your life by basing this emotion on a memory that you cannot sustain anymore. You know, so whoever needed to hear that, please understand that the releasing of the emotions actually puts you on the adventure of discovering why these things happen in the first place, which allows you to become more cumbersome with who you are and realizing that trauma or what we consider to be a fucked up event in our lives is only teaching us how to release it now that we've held on to it. And this is a reminder, is what Spirit just said. You know, it's a reminder to go within and not be without, you know, because when you focus on what's outside of you, then you're missing the message that's actually speaking to you inside of you. You know, this is misdirection, misguidance. Some of us are escaping and unresolving issues, not realizing that there are actual issues that we limit our vibration and the opportunity to raise our vibration. So you see how this is actually a gift. When you have these sensations inside of you, you have an opportunity to learn and grow. Thank you, Creator. You know what I'm saying? It's real because everybody has fucking emotions and they resurface. Nightmares evolve. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that everybody's life is fucking sad, but there's always something to improve on to get you connected to the very thing that you are, which is more than what a lot of people believe themselves to be. Again, with the limited thinking, you know, the inability to remove the boundaries that got you this far, but will get you no farther. And this is the discontent that a lot of people experience in these moments, not realizing that these moments are actually meant to set them free. And we talked a lot with a mentee about perspective. When you change the way that you look at things, the things that you're looking at change. There's a doctor that said this, and it resonated with me deeply because this is a actual factual fucking truth. When you stop looking at something as shit, regardless of the fact that it is or not, you get to look past whatever's blocking your fucking way. You get to look through it instead of become it. Or instead of bracing that very fact, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's that, you know. And we don't realize that we're actually assuming what we look at because we don't know what our words actually do behind the scenes, and especially when we label each other or we label ourselves somehow, we actually create a border of limitations that you're meant to push past when you want to be more. And that's divine challenge. You know what I'm saying? When we make a decision in our lives, there's going to be redirection, because you've intended it. But then when you accept it, you realize that there's more than what you had intended in the first place. And the only reason it seems like failure is because the road to success was something that you weren't necessarily paying attention to, because you were more focused on what it looked like than what it actually is. Hi, sweetheart. No, you don't have to apologize one bit. We're just talking. You know how that goes. So, with that being said, if anybody has any questions, you feel free to ask them, because divine guidance is a beautiful thing, and when you have the opportunity to embrace it, by all means, please do. So, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. If it's personal, I might consider not, but just letting you know. Apparently, the world lives with disclaimers now, so we have to do those things. Well, let's talk about it. I'm just here. You're just here? No, you're actually there. I'm here. If you think about it, the mirror goes both ways, man. We find similarities and patterns all the time. When you start looking at the world as a reflection of your own inner thinking, your own inner beliefs, it changes the whole fucking dynamic of how you look at the world, and it also teaches you how to appreciate it, because everything is you. It's in your DNA. There's the proof. You know, every element that you are came from this place right here. And created you in a sense. That's the beauty of what spirit teaches us, and ancient souls or old souls. You're out there. You know who you are. Oh yeah, I'm an old soul. Do you really know how old you are? You know, we can speculate that we've had many lifetimes here as an old soul, because that was kind of like the Gen X way of looking at it. But when you look at it from a divine perspective, you see that it is so much more, like the dragons before, you know. A lot of people speculated whether they existed or not. Yeah, and they did. They did. And some of us are even holding those fucking DNA codes. And that's why the dragons are prevalent in our experiences, because we've been them before. Mm, how's that for old? So as an explanation of what you can discover when you deep dive past how old you are. When you ask that question, how old of a soul am I? And it's funny, we hear in the spiritual community a lot of people have you know the dragons associated with them, and I think it's a trip, because it's like, yeah, because you've been one before. um, you know yeah, and you have those codes. You have the ancient DNA of the dragons. And then one of the things about dragons is they come in many colors. They come in many unique ways. But a lot of them are prevalent to the elements. you know Earth, air, fire, water, ether. And when you study that, you realize that you have certain etheric components depending on the dragon that you have, or a fire placement, or an air, or water, or earth. So depending on those things, also, it says a lot about your demeanor and your characteristics in this present life. you know as far as understanding that it's like, bro, you've been a great many things, and this is the things that you discover along the way. you know that a lot of people is like, oh well, I always have a dream about this animal. Well, the animal is actually medicine. It's teaching you something. It's telling you something about yourself. Like, let's give you an example. The turtles, Slow and steady win the race. It's a life lesson from the animal itself, from the spirit, from the essence of what it is, which is also you. Because if you can envision, let's give you an example. If you can envision that spirit or that animal that you've seen recently, okay, you can remember what that feels like and have an energetic representation of that animal and the meaning of it in your life. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the animal is a different medicine. You know, it's a different understanding or an understanding that you needed at this time, right? I now use the turtle again. Wisdom. It's not about getting to the finish line. It's about enjoying the fucking journey. It's about understanding that in silence comes wisdom. It's about understanding the balance of all things and being humble enough to explain it in a way where everyone can understand. And having the patience and the willingness to communicate with anyone who doesn't. Courage, fortitude, strength. The speed of life is slow, Flam. You know, it's about flow. But how do you know you're in flow when you don't know what it is, what it feels like, what it represents, what it does to you when you have it? These points about versus observation and awareness are really important in your energetic anatomy and how you study yourself, the inner world, right? Because this is how you interact with the everything. You know, your life is in your hands and you don't even know it. And you've been sold, bought, borrowed, bought, borrowed, and sold. You know, and it's time to stand up. It's time to understand and start taking the initiative to know what it's like to be a sovereign being, not in this political structure, but from within. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the truth is. Because my we don't have opinions, and the messages that I deliver are non-biased, and they encourage others to think for themselves and please observe themselves so that way they can understand their own selves. This is not selfish behavior. This is a strong understanding that the profound knowledge that you are receiving now comes from that of the Creator. And even though that you may not know if what you're speaking to right now, the only thing that we do is pray that you don't miss the message. Because this is meant for you and it's being given to you, and you skepticize it by asking questions. Because everything starts from inside of you and then creates everything outside of you. This is the very understanding and teachings that the great Creator gives those who are responsible enough to understand it. All paths lead to the one. Doesn't matter where you come from. We've started at the bottom, now we're here, you know? So it's important to understand and respectfully respect the message, fam. Because if you don't respect the message, you probably don't respect you. And that's a shitty place to be, I promise you. Because I've learned a great many things from that willingness and intent to do so, to learn those things. The who, what, where, and why, and the explanations to why we even fucking think that way in the fucking first place. And how much we've actually been manipulated as a society to understand to not be able to see the truth when it's literally facing you in this moment. Because we're not trying to sway you. We're encouraging you to do the work because the proof is in the work. The proof is in what you believe. The proof is the belief that you're meant to believe. And when you believe what's not meant to believe, then you see why it's not meant to be that way. And this is the universe, fam. You know? No, man, I appreciate the challenge. You know what I'm saying? Because without challenge, there is no growth. But just like the turtle, we must have couth when we speak. Because we cannot be easily offended by those who do not understand. But we should be more welcoming about those who are willing to try. You know what I'm saying? And nothing hurts more than the truth, but nothing is as powerful either. Because it gives you something you can feel. And it shows you who you are in that moment based on whether you accept the message as the truth or you believe it to be a lie. The discomfort will tell you. So again, we're not really here to convince anybody of anything. You know, the proof is in the pudding. You know, it's not like we come on here and give people instructions. We just show them, hey, there's a way you can do this for yourself. And if you don't have the courage to do so, we'll encourage you. Come see us because you're going to find out for yourself. This isn't, we're not brainwashing you. If anything, it's washing your brain of the things that really don't matter. This ain't no cult. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's the truth of the matter. You know, I could be real as real and I could be as cosmic as I want to be. You know, I understand that everybody communicates on multiple levels. So that's why the multi-dimensional self and the understanding of the dimensional self is really important in our lives. Because it's cosmic behavior. A lot of people come from planets that aren't even around here. You know, and some of them know it. Some of them literally tell themselves all the time, I know I'm not from here. But, okay, where are you from? Would you like to know? Can I help you? You know? How do you get all the dimensional selves in a suit? If you think on everything, everything is an orchestration depending on levels of frequency and vibration, right? So depending on your willingness of elevation, that's how transcendence happens into a higher elevation of vibrational consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth dimension, fourth, fifth. This is Jacob's ladder, fam. You know what I'm saying? It's the willingness to continue to climb the ladder and put the effort because the universe challenges you with everything that's getting in your way on purpose. So that way you're more willing and more challenged to climb the ladder. You know? It's real. It's real shit, bro. We're not at the fucking mall and fucking buying spirituality, okay? Let's put that to bed right now. This is real. This is something that is tangible and comes with proof and confirmation. Because a lot of you have been lied to you and don't even understand what that actually is. It's not necessarily numbers and bells. All right. It's way more than that. The universe speaks to you constantly. And not necessarily through things you can see, but also things you can feel. You know, it's important to know how you're actually intertwined with the divine universe, the great mother, you know, the divine feminine, the masculine, you know, the balance of the hemispheres, the play of the in between, which is here, the form. How deep you want to go back? You know what I'm saying? We can go past pre Anunnaki if you want. But we've been doing this for a really long time. And we're all divine beings. And we've been led to believe that we're not. And that's part of understanding what we are. And, you know, you got to be more willing to want to do it, you know. But when people tell you the fruits of their efforts and then they come share with you, that's value. Because it literally proves that it can be done. And it proves that whatever defect you think you may have is non-existent on the other side of the blindness, you know, of the misunderstandings, of the ignorance, of the stupidity, of being emotionally involved with everything when you don't have to be, and knowing that you have free will and free choice to do so, and that you create your own universe and your own reality in a sense, which is overwhelmed by fear right now. The only way to stop the fear is to stop the things that are keeping you from diving into yourself and understanding the divinity in you. You know, we're not poverty cases, fam. We're meant for more, and we're meant for great things because that's what the divine intends it. You know, a lot of people are stuck in many spaces, but you have the duty to unstick yourself because growth is a constant. So whether in this life or the next, you still evolve, you learn and grow, and you're met with challenges and karmic effects and dharma and all those things, right? Why not do it in this life so that way you don't have to? Well, my wife said it, and this is what Spirit is bringing up right now. And a lot of you are completely cold-hearted to this. I have to tell you that the heart chakra is probably having warmth in your heart chakra is probably one of the most beautiful things that you can experience, right? But having a cold heart is an indication that there's a lack of internal warmth within the body. And I'm not necessarily, I'm talking about the energy. So to whom this is, you know, just understand that these things come up in our lives to show us not only that we're meant for more, but we need to move through this because it's important, okay? Because you're suffering because of it in one way or another, or it's not allowing you to get far, or it's keeping you stuck. We take these opportunities to observe ourselves so that way we have our revelation of what it is that we are receiving from the universe. You know, the internal work is nothing but fun discovery. And whoever this is, I just want you to know that whatever it is, whatever sensations you're having outside of your chest right now are being alleviated as a divine example and representation of the universe itself, right? And how it works. And when we are in acceptance of that universe, it teaches us, it heals us, it purifies us, but it also makes us what we're meant to be, great, because you are creation in form. I don't need to read a specific book because they all talk about it. Exactly. There has to be more to this life. And here we are explaining to you that there is more, that the boundaries that have been placed upon you are only limitations in the aspect of dreaming a dream and how you can live your life in sovereignty. And you don't really have to do anything outside of yourself at first. There's the profound realization that whatever it is got going on inside of you is creating what's going on around you in some way, somehow. And there's where you take responsibility. I mean, to me, it's common sense, right? Because we all plateau somewhere and then we end up working somewhere for God knows how many years. And what have we done? Did we really follow our passion? You know what I'm saying? Did we do the things that we wanted to do in this life? Are we having our experiencing joy? Or are we just in acceptance of the fact that it could be really miserable, but we're going to make ourselves happy and pretend sometimes when we don't have to? Because it's this watered down lifestyle that somebody has given to you, when the divine can show you what it's meant to be you. I love this. Simple offer. You go on the journey of simplifying the complexity of, because when you see how much work we have put into developing a language that does nothing but hinder us because we don't truly understand our use of it. And that's the beauty of creation. You not only are people building with their hands or their feet or whatever, they're also building things with their words. Who are you building those words for? You know, that's mindfulness is of what we speak. We don't honor our own sovereignty, so therefore we speak with disrespect, not realizing we are respectful. We might think it's funny or a joke, or we don't take it seriously, but our voices are a vibrational sonic information system that we supply to everything around us. We speak to everything around here, and it speaks to us. You know, this is that vibrational understanding of the inner work. This is energy healing. This is understanding the orchestration of things. We've been bred upon limitation. Therefore, our natural instinct is to have one. Is that your fault? No. We need to stop taking the blame for it, though, by doing something more, right? It's the beauty of common sense. It's the beauty of simplification of complex concepts that are outside of who you are. They really have nothing to do with you because your life looks like your life and the way that you intended your life to be here and now. Wow. And there's nobody to blame. There's really no finger to point. You ended up in a fucking concept that somebody else created to keep you where you're stuck, safe somehow, conformity. And we wonder why a lot of people suffer from depression. It's because we're naturally fucking oppressed by our language, by the awareness of ourselves, what true anatomy looks like, not just on a physical level, but we're energy beings. We're actually energy informed. Science teaches us this shit. How come that is not incorporated in the health system? How come they don't teach them about the energy, the divine orchestration of the very thing that you are at its core? You know, living a lie, maybe. You know, this is what deep introspection and the willingness to deep introspection actually looks like. Here's the proof, fam. We're saying it. Are you thirsty for more? Well, see, that's the thing. You have a lot to let go of. You know what I'm saying? When we express ourselves, we don't realize that we're engaging in a flow state. It comes from a true passionate instinct. The creator in you demands it because it's part of your make. It's part of your makeup. We were all born to create and we were all born to have fun. But has to be something that we become because we were it. That was what we are. Joy. And and I think that's kind of like how people can actually find more of a grounded perspective is if you are not experiencing what joy is, more joy in your life than pain, then that is the first measure of imbalance in your life and to go within again. It's the evaluation, the reevaluation that your overall experience is out of alignment and it's creating imbalances. And you think that everybody's going through what you're going through, but you might not know exactly who's actually going through what. Because things look a certain way only because you look at them that way. Not everybody's in pain. Not everybody's all up in their head. Not everybody gives a shit, right? That's a balanced perspective because you're actually speaking that there is an opportunity to understand that the latter exists because it's the law of duality. And the law of duality tells you that you cannot have one thing without the other, but those, again, your folded maps in hand, fam. We got to talk about the laws that truly exist versus the universal laws when we come to understand ourselves and how we are conscious creators in our lives. How we can do this more swiftly, more fully, more honestly, more divinely, more authentic to what we were actually placed here to be, a divine representation of thee. You know what I'm saying? You're all God's people and you bow before no one. So what are you bowing to that is making you suffer? What are you bowing to that is making you safe, but you don't know any better? You don't know more. And spirit asks, where's the effort in digging or observing those realizations as they come to you after questions been asked because it's owed to you, because you deserve more again. They're basically showing me that everybody's really holding out on themselves and they don't know it, but we're here to clarify those things should they choose to try or may have willingness to understand these things. Because when you open the door, you're actually learning how to close another that has been keeping you there. So in that aspect, we understand our divine architecture, our divine self, the orchestration of these things, right? And we don't realize that a lot of you with gifts have a responsibility with those gifts as well. You've been given this for a reason. It's because you're meant to share it. My wife says it all the time. In order for you to keep it, you have to give it away to get it back, to receive it, to have it consistent in your life, to be in flow and in rhythm. We can't necessarily hold on to anything as far as our emotions or, distractions, our behavior, our attitude. Being mindful of our energy field and understanding the orchestration of that tells you the divine rhythm of everything. It teaches you that time is not real, that there is a natural rhythm to everything, and that you should pay more attention to it. So, with that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you that listen to this message, you know, and understand that there's way more out there than what you're looking at. And we're only limited by what we think we see, you know. Embrace reality, okay? Because it's a part of you. It's a part of thee, you know. We don't want to fucking sit there and fucking ridicule or complain or criticize our right to be here now and present and understand that everything is solvable from the eyes of the creator, right? And the creator is also you. So studying the creator in you will help you change your reality if you don't like it or for whatever reason, purpose you have. You know, you get to be you, the authentic you, not the worried you, the scared you, the panicked you, the anxious you, the broke you, the who you, the you believe yourself to be, when in the divine reality, you see yourself as what you're meant to be. You know, we just have to understand that some of this information may offend us purposely to show us in that moment because we're too hard-headed or ignorant or we just don't know any better to know what a confirmation is. And then it goes, oof, not realizing that that's the divine knocking on your door. That, like somebody poked you in the fucking chest, pissed you off like that. It's all happened. You can't, that has happened, you know? That is a reaction and a confirmation to there is more than what you perceive your current state to be. So if you got offended, I salute you and I welcome you into knowing that there's something inside of you that's calling to you and it just poked you in the face. So you could see it. Because, everybody loves a skeptic. The divine you is calling you. Ouch. You know, sometimes it's that simple, man. It doesn't have to be complicated. Let's be honest. We don't know what hard work is. We only have comparisons of what hard work actually is. It's something that comes naturally to you, and it's not so hard. We promise you. Does anybody have any questions? We like to do this every once in a while. Give the guy a break, take a breath. We speak in third person to get you to understand that it is a we, not a him. The divine is calling you, fam. All the time, everywhere, any place, anytime, anywhere. You just gotta know how to look. And you gotta be willing to understand those things. You know? And that's where all your confirmations are received. And you don't, one thing you're gonna have to learn is not to have expectations. Just like the turtle. And commitment. And knowing that love always finds a way, and so do you. And you'll discover the things that you're meant to discover along the way, and you will appreciate them when they come. And take your time, because it's yours to take. That's the divine blessing upon you. Again, they promise you. You know, a lot of people are being going within, and it doesn't surprise me why everybody's being called to go within, because everything without really kind of sucks. Humanity is in turmoil right now, and they're all poking the finger at each other. That sound familiar? You've been there before? Did you heal that? Did you engage in growth of understanding more? The journey, you know? Keep going. There's more. You haven't gone this far to get this far, only to stay there. You know what I'm saying? It changes rather consistently. And the more welcoming we are to it, the more it changes us. And we get to be who we're meant to be. You know? Doesn't matter who you are, the divine always shows you the truth of your reality. You know, it doesn't have to be this giant mental thing about panic and worry and fear and desire. You know, I don't know how else to say that. You know, we all have dreams, we all have goals, we all have ambition, but common sense perspective would say that, okay, it's my energy that gives me the opportunity, that pays these bills, because without energy I can't really work. So it's my energy that is my currency. It's my source of abundance, because the universe mirrors me energetically, and how I think, feel, and act about myself and accept certain things as real, religion, belief, whatever, faith, hope, ideas. Yeah, I got my arms open, fam. Give me a minute. Because they want you to see if you can feel that, to be honest with you, and what that burden actually feels like. The heaviness that we create for ourselves. You know, can you feel it kind of like tingling up inside somehow? Is it ringing your bell? Are we making this up? Either way, you know, there's many ways to look at this. You know, some of us can't explain what's happening inside your body, but we can explain to you what's happening in your body right now. Kundalini is being activated purposely to show you, to prove to you that the essence of the divine is near, and it is you, and it knows you. And it's not really intimidated by you, by the way. I don't know who needed to hear that. You know? And you know, his spirit's message is love more, man, but understand what love actually goes and flows within yourself. You know, it's the warm embrace of the divine, fam, that's going on right here, right now. If you're willing to accept it, my hands are open. Keep in mind that this isn't coming from Jose. This is here to show you, to prove to you once more that what we're saying here is true. Enjoy your own confirmations, fam. You know, if you're on the fence about it, just breathe. You know, it's all you need to do. I have proof. We have proof. You know, can you feel it? Are you welcoming it? Are you fighting it? Do you even believe it? Is it real? I don't the divine control you. It's not a job, it's an adventure. Literally, I hear these things, dude. It's fucking hilarious. Thank you for allowing us to share a moment with you. You know, the energy can be really rambunctious for some. So, you know, do be mindful of these type of healings that we perform are energetic changes, not only within you, but in your reality as well. So things might look different. There's might be a little bit of disorientation or possibly even buzzing or ringing of the ears. You know what I'm saying? That's transformation, is what spirit is saying here, to get you to understand, you know, to get your hands to tingle just a little bit, you know, to give you a divine example of what we were talking about energy and transformation of that energy, you know? So, and this is what we help people understand about themselves, because by when you tune into the energy tells you everything that you need to know, because the energy is beyond the lies, beyond any untruth, beyond the surface, beyond the superficial, beyond the stereotypical, beyond the separation. The energy itself is whole and full always, which is also a part of you. And whatever imbalances you have going on right now, they're being taken away to show you not only that there's a better way, but there is a better way. Like, embrace. Look at what we have the capability of doing in a moment, you know? And when we study these moments, we realize that, you know, we try to fucking, we're frustrated, we're stressed out. Our nervous systems can be stimulated rather rapidly because a lot of people's nervous systems are basically a crystalline formation, and not knowing that a crystal is sensitive to frequency. It feels like you're getting your bell rung sometimes. You get overstimulated, you start to panic, you start to breathe all fucked up, not realizing that your fucking brain, like literally your brain is overworking, and your body's trying to tell you that your brain is overworking, but you can't because you're too busy thinking. Tell me I'm a liar. You know, these are healers' hands, fam. You can believe that. And this is what we do. This is part of our process. This is part of our program. This is how we represent ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We're proud to be who we are. My wife taught me a lot. I know myself. I know you in one way or another because the energy speaks to me. I know energy. So, in essence, I do know you. You know what I'm saying? Because I am you. So, I think it's important for a lot of people to start embracing that very fact as well. It'll take you places. And you'll learn a lot more respect along the way that you haven't had for yourself or others, and how you've been disrespected as well. You know, everything's a learning experience, bro, a lesson, but you don't have to fucking see it as punishment. I think living this way has been enough. It's our teacher, you know, what not to do. Believe it or not, overindulgence is a fucking thing too. And that's a clear sign of a lack of energetic alignment. Because usually when we're out of alignment, we make piss poor decisions and not informed ones. And I don't know about you, but I would really love to make informed decisions on a consistent basis, you know, because I used to be a screw up. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I am doing energy readings and healings here today. If you'd like to engage in that space, not that you guys haven't had a dose of it already, but if not, I also do this online. Your chakra and nervous system resets that we have on Four Corners. We also have them on Moon, available to all you people if you have any questions about energy healing, realignment, rebalancing, nervous system reset, shamanic journeys, meditations. Please reach out to us because these will help you get focal ports. This will take you into journeys into the inner world, and we'll get into the focal points of what it is that's actually hindering you from the most abundance that you can have or your best life. A way to succeed, be sovereign and free, liberating the mind that is conceptually free, right? Because we understand that a lot of this is all conceptual. Your reality is subjective to the way that you perceive it. I mean, it's true power, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, when you understand these things, you go on the journey of discovering the orchestration of how all this works, and when we can help you along the way, should you choose, you can do it yourself if you want. I don't. It's not for. I don't recommend it for everybody. We need a lot of hand holding as a people. Especially through times like that where a lot of people are going, "What the fuck is going on? Why am I here? And am I gonna die?" Because everything else is out of control, and I feel like the box is getting smaller. Many diamonds have been created with that same pressure to squeeze the seed out, the divine seed, the seed in you. So, it will just continue to, with great pressure comes great responsibility and accountability of knowing what's going on right now. Because a lot of us are in a sandwich without not realizing it. Now we're meant to get squeezed out and blossom and turn to and bloom into what we were meant to be, like a tree. You're no different from it. Your roots are internal. The vessels that run through your veins, are they not the same? Gaia is you. You just look different, unique to the form. But those are the nerves. Those are the nerves, the spirit nerves. But also that's the orchestration of Gaia, the great mother inside of you. You know what I'm saying? It's just wrapped up in a shell. So this is also something you may want to look at. Because a lot of people say grounding is a thing. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it is a thing. Earthing is great. Grounding is cool, but anchoring is something that you really get to embrace the teaching and the experience of what everybody's really talking about when you actually embrace the great mother. Because the love from a mother is like no other. Okay? Promise you that. You know, when we really, really truly intend to connect with the very thing that we are, dude. Oh, you get to explore a great many things about yourself. You know, when we got to be willing to go on an adventure, dude, because a lot of us are like fucking robots and we don't enjoy stories anymore. We just watch other people do the shit on TV and live vicariously through it so we can feel something like we've experienced it. I don't know who needed to hear that. Anybody have any questions? Like to add anything? You have to excuse me. It's really hard for me to read the comments. Why? Apparently age. Okay. So I got to put on my magoos. What's up, Ella? Welcome in again. Kylie. It is a good afternoon, isn't it? And we just shared a great many things, Spirit and I, about honoring the divine, you honoring yourself, and what's actually going on beneath the surface. You know, the whole orchestration of it. Like the dance that you do on a daily basis. A lot of people are on different levels of understanding. Excuse me, their energetic system, because everything is energy and energy is you. So, your first line of defense is knowing your energy and what you're capable of as you enter this new world that's literally coming from the ashes of the old one. And that's what a lot of people are witnessing right now without knowing it. And then we're all going to hell. Well, if we can tell you that you're not meant to, but if you want to believe the other thing, then that's it's a choice. You know, we transcend when we're in acceptance of our own vibration, of our own lifestyles, and our authenticity. You know what I'm saying? And living in the spiritual way. The spiritual life is not. It's not a joke. You. It's an embrace. Because again, it gets to show you who you really are and what you're really dealing with, and what level of alchemy you're actually playing on. Because we're all magicians. We're all alchemists. We work with the earth, air, fire, water, and ether. And learning how we move those energetic principles is how our intentions are created and how we have the ability to create something from nothing. Does that sound familiar? Anybody know who else does that? You know, just saying. I love God jokes. They're funny. Welcome in. Welcome in. Holding the field. How are you? Yeah, sweet pie. Okay, cool. That makes me happy. Did you find any of the information here insightful, or did you find it challenging? I like to get feedback every once in a while. Not that I need it, but I encourage people to talk more so that way they can express themselves, because a lot of people don't do it. I tell people all the time, when it kind of reminds me of a story I used to tell people. I realized that at one moment when I went home to visit my family, everybody literally said the same thing in response when I said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they said, this reminds me of a story, it's like they said, I said, "Hey, how are you doing?" "Oh, just working." And I literally got the response from 9 people: "I'm just working." And then it dawned on me in that moment that people are not clear of the language that we're speaking, because I asked them how they're doing, but they told me their ailment, because it was the first thing that literally come up. And we've been trained to speak these things. It's actually kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? This is the way that we express ourselves, and then we wonder why we have an invalidity in our lives, that things just don't line up, they don't add up. There's always something to question. More less faith, less faith and fortitude because of those things, because it's demeaning in itself. And yeah, the nervous system reset is what helps us realize a lot of these things that are happening in ourselves and in others. You know what I'm saying? And this is also an opportunity for you to share what you know when you experience these things, because now you're helping your brother, your sister, your mother, your cousin, or people that fucking you work with. And it's not that you're giving anything away. You're adding to people. You're blessing others in a sense, by just being yourself. Because whatever we believe ourselves to be, whatever we believe ourselves to be is what is a representation of the reality that we experience. And like when you realize that, it's like, oh shit. Basically, we've covered everything. We've talked about everything is energy. You are energy in form, and you are in complete control of that energy that you are. No, there is no anti-aging element. Okay, just get it out of your system, whoever you are. But when you understand the alchemy and the energetic ways of life and how these things actually represent your reality, hey, then who's putting the power back in your pocket? Who's putting the power in your hands? Who's empowering you in this moment right now? That's truly a gift. But we've been meant to look at gifts as presents wrapped in bows and shit with pretty little fucking polka dots on it. When the true gifts are not an illusion and it's not something that's temporary, it's forever. So, I guess what? We get up out of here, fam. But it's been a pleasure speaking with all you beautiful people here, and I know Spirit is elated and delighted that you took the time to pay attention to everything that was expressed here. And we welcome you to know more. You can reach out to us on the website. The link is in the bio. If you feel more comfortable around the woman, my wife, womantheancientsun.org, will be more than happy to help you. Okay? But just remember that I'm not just a man, I am a being. Okay? And I understand you both because I'm meant to, because I have to. Because it's a part of my understanding, but it's also a part of my ability to assist others in understanding themselves. So there's no bias here, fam. And if you're scared, or if you feel like there's something limitation that keeps you from fucking enjoying these services, just understand that maybe that's an adversity that you were meant to face, a challenge to see if you actually want to commit to these things and learn more about these things and balance your life in a way that's never been done before because it hasn't happened yet. Okay? You've never done this before in a sense. But when we're done with you, we can tell you that you will know what the fuck you're doing. We promise you. I am living proof of this. So I promise you that we will grow you should you engage in that space. Because that's what the divine does. They assist us and they guide us in these to become those divine representations of what we actually meant ourselves to be in the first place. Truly, truly holding the gift. So much love to each and every one of you, fam. If you're looking for energy healing, if you're looking for chakra rebalancing, realignment, nervous system resets, if you're looking for spiritual consultations, soul counsel, which is really important, or you'd like to go a journey for whatever reason, you need to go into the past to figure something the fuck out because it keeps happening and you don't know why, we can do those things for you. We can, help you unbind these chains of bondage that has been created before your life was even a thought. You know what I'm saying? We've been doing this for a really long time, fam. It's about time to start getting a clue, But the invitation is something that you have to accept because it's always on your doorstep with every breath. Okay? So reach out if you have any questions, and you can find us next time when we come on. All right? Take care, fam. We'll see you later. Peace.